Chapter 1. Static on the Line. The dream was already dissolving, a fistful of smoke slipping through his fingers the moment the alarm blared. Mark slapped the snooze button, the plastic groaning in protest. He lay still in the pre-dawn gloom, chasing the ghost of what he'd just lost. There were no concrete images left, no faces, no landscapes, only the profound, aching echo of a feeling. It was the feeling of meaning, of soaring over impossible geometries of iron and starlight, a resonant purpose humming in his very bones. In the dream, he had been essential. Here, he was just Mark. The feeling was replaced by its familiar shadow, the one that greeted him most mornings. The cold, certain knowledge that his life was fundamentally wrong. He rolled out of bed, his joints cracking a weary complaint. 28. The wrong end of 25, the age where potential curdles into the quiet desperation of a settled-for life. The floorboards were cool under his feet as he shuffled to the window. Outside, the sky over East Austin was beginning to blush from charcoal to a bruised purple. This was his life, a third-floor apartment that always smelled faintly of his downstairs neighbor's cooking, a mountain of student debt for a degree he didn't use, and a job that was actively, methodically, sandblasting the soul out of him. An itch started up in the back of his mind, a psychic hives that had been getting worse for months. It was a frantic, desperate signal from some deeper part of himself, a part that screamed he was meant to be doing something, and it sure as hell wasn't this. The life he was living was a suit 2 sizes too small, and every day the seams got a little tighter. 45 minutes later, he was sitting in a grey, fabric-walled cubicle at Veridata Solutions. The air tasted of recycled breath and the bitter tang of burnt coffee. His computer screen glowed with the spreadsheet that was his entire world, from 9 to 5. Columns and rows of meaningless data that he had to verify, sort, and transfer from one digital box to another. It was the digital equivalent of moving a pile of sand 1 grain at a time. This was what was killing him. Not in a sudden, dramatic way, but through a slow, quiet erosion. A death by 1,000 spreadsheets. "Morning, Mark." The voice belonged to Brenda from the next cubicle, a woman whose only 2 hobbies were her collection of cat-themed coffee mugs and complaining about the office thermostat. "Morning," Mark mumbled back, not taking his eyes from the screen. He put on his headphones, not to listen to music, but to drown out the oppressive symphony of the office. The clicking of 100 keyboards, the rhythmic hum of the server room, the gentle weeping of a man in accounting. The itch in his subconscious intensified. It felt like static on a telephone line, obscuring a message he was straining to hear. And beneath it all, that other hum, the low-frequency thrum that wasn't coming from the building's HVAC or the servers. It was the sound of the world's undercurrent, a bass note he felt in his teeth, and it was always loudest here, in the place he felt most disconnected from himself. He stared at the screen, his eyes glazing over as he cross-referenced purchase orders. Column G to column K. Row 238. The numbers and letters began to swim, the black pixels blurring against the white background. The hum in his ears spiked. For a single, heart-stopping second, the data in cells G238 through K238 rearranged itself. The numbers, letters, and grid lines dissolved and reformed into a single, elegant symbol that glowed with a soft internal silver light. It was a complex knot of lines and curves, both alien and achingly familiar. Seeing it was like remembering a language he'd never known he'd forgotten. The itch in his mind went silent. The hum locked in, a pure, clean tone. He felt a moment of perfect clarity, of absolute peace. He blinked. It was gone. Just numbers, just a spreadsheet. He looked at the cell again, PO number 78, T4B9. Mundane. Meaningless. Mark's breath hitched. He pushed his chair back, the wheels squeaking on the plastic floor mat. He looked around the office. Brenda was sipping from a mug that read, "I work hard so my cat can have a better life." No one else had noticed a thing. The world hadn't stopped turning, but his had just tilted on its axis. Feeling a sudden, desperate need for a change of scenery, he stood up and walked toward the break room, his legs feeling unsteady beneath him. He needed water. He needed to splash some on his face. He needed to stand in a different room to prove the walls of his cubicle weren't closing in. The break room was a sterile white box, smelling of microwave popcorn and disinfectant. Josh, a kid fresh out of college who worked in sales, was leaning against the counter, talking loudly to a co-worker from another department. "Dude, I'm telling you, the rooftop bar on 6th is the play tonight," Josh said, his voice brimming with the easy confidence Mark vaguely remembered having. "Place is gonna be packed. We just post up by the entrance, run a little two-man game. It's a target-rich environment." Mark turned his back to them, focusing on the gurgle of the water cooler. The words hit him with a strange, dissonant clang. He saw a flash of his own past. The sticky floors of a college bar, the scent of cheap beer, the thrill of a successful pickup line. He remembered the simple, straightforward hunt of it all, the validation that came with a phone number scribbled on a napkin. That life felt like it belonged to a different person. The thought of participating in that ritual now seemed utterly exhausting. And yet, as he filled a flimsy paper cup, a bitter mix of emotions churned in his gut. He looked down on Josh, on the shallow simplicity of his goals. But a larger part of him felt a sharp, painful envy. Josh wasn't haunted by a low, constant hum. His world wasn't cracking open at the seams. His biggest concern was which bar to go to. He was playing a game with rules Mark understood, but could no longer bring himself to play. And in his simple, blissful ignorance, Josh was happy. Mark felt a profound sense of isolation. He didn't belong in their world of rooftop bars, and he certainly didn't belong in a world of impossible glowing symbols. He was a man caught between two realities, belonging to neither. He drank the water in 3 quick gulps, tossed the cup in the trash, and walked out of the break room without a word. The rest of the day was a fog. Mark went through the motions, his mind replaying that single, impossible second, now layered with the fresh sting of his own alienation. The symbol was burned onto the inside of his eyelids. By the time 5 o'clock mercifully arrived, he felt stretched thin, his nerves frayed. He fled the office, not even bothering with the elevator, taking the stairs down 8 flights 2 at a time. Back in his apartment, the silence was a welcome relief. The setting sun cast long shadows across his sparse living room. He didn't turn on the lights, he just stood in the middle of the room, the symbol replaying in his mind's eye. The static was gone, but the itch remained, sharper now, more defined. It was no longer a vague dissatisfaction, it was a sense of disgust so severe it nearly made him nauseous. That symbol was a clue. The first real clue he'd ever had that the feeling of wrongness wasn't just in his head. As true darkness fell, a sound cut through the quiet, a soft, rhythmic tapping at his door. It wasn't loud or aggressive, it was precise, patterned. Tap, 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 tap. Mark froze, his blood turning to ice. No one ever came to his door. He had no friends in the city, and he'd already paid his rent. The only people who knocked were delivering takeout he hadn't yet ordered. The knock came again, the exact same melodic pattern. Tap, 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 tap. The hum, which had receded to its background thrum, now swelled in time with the knocking. It was a vibration that seemed to emanate from the door itself. He had the sudden, terrifying certainty that whoever was on the other side of that door knew about the symbol on his screen. They knew about the itch in his head and the hum in his bones. He took a slow, deliberate step toward the door. Every instinct screamed at him to stay put, to pretend he wasn't home. But the part of him that was dying in that cubicle, the part that remembered the feeling of soaring through a starlit dream, knew he couldn't. This was it. This was the thread he'd been searching for, the one he could finally pull to unravel the wrongness of everything. His hand trembled as he reached for the deadbolt.